What if a stage, meant to be a place of joy and celebration, turned into a place of heartbreak? How does a moment of applause transform into silence filled with shock and grief? Today, we're sharing the stories of performers who gave their all until their very last moments, right there, in front of their audience. These are the artists who lived for their craft and passed away doing what they loved most. From legendary musicians to unforgettable singers, these moments are as haunting as they are unforgettable. Which artist's final performance left the world stunned? And how did their passion shine through in their last moments on stage? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more. Nick Menza. There's nothing more metal than dying on stage while playing metal, and even before his untimely death, Nick Menza was about as metal as it gets. In fact, he was once a member of Megadeth, pictured above, Menza second from left, being behind the kit for the major metal band throughout the 90s, playing on highly regarded albums like Rust in Peace and Countdown to Extinction. Apart from Megadeth, Menza played with several bands, including Chodel's Trunk, Fear Assembly, Orphan to Hatred, and OHM. It was in May 2016, during a gig with OHM, a band founded by one of his former Megadeth bandmates, guitarist Chris Poland, in a Los Angeles jazz club called The Baked Potato, that Menza's heart gave out. Suffering what emergency responders reportedly considered to be a massive heart attack, the 51-year-old drummer collapsed on stage during the third song of the band's set, and he was pronounced dead upon arrival at a nearby hospital. Fatman Scoop. After portraying an ice cream vendor in the 1996 video for the Fugees, Killing Me Softly with his song, rapper and hype man Isaac Freeman III found his stage name, Fatman Scoop, and by the early 2000s he was contributing guest verses and releasing his own singles. He showed up on Missy Elliott's Lose Control and Mariah Carey's It's Like That, and made his own party-starting club hits like It Takes Scoop and Be Faithful. On August 30, 2024, Fatman Scoop was the top-billed act at the Green and Gold Party, a festival show at Town Center Park in Hamden, Connecticut. Just before 8:30 p.m., the rapper worked the audience into a frenzy, then headed to the elevated DJ booth, where he suddenly collapsed. The medical episode happened in a spot where the crowd couldn't see the musician, but audience members could see another person doing chest compressions, indicating that Fatman Scoop had lost consciousness and a heartbeat. Emergency workers escorted the unresponsive rapper off the stage via a stretcher and to a local hospital. His death was announced via his Instagram account the next morning, with a statement reading, "Last night, the world lost a radiant soul, a beacon of light on the stage and in life." Fatman Scoop was 53. Dimebag Darrell. Darrell Lance Abbott, better known as Dimebag Darrell, was no ordinary guitarist. To many, he was a legend, a pioneer, and a hero in the world of heavy metal. Born on August 20, 1966, in Ennis, Texas, Darrell grew up surrounded by music. His father, Jerry Abbott, was a country music producer, and the house was always filled with sounds of guitars, melodies, and inspiration. Darrell, however, carved his own path, one that shook the foundations of heavy metal music. A night of tragedy, on December 8, 2004, Damageplan was performing at the Alrosa Villa nightclub in Columbus, Ohio. It was supposed to be another night of music, laughter, and connection with fans. But fate had other plans. As the band started playing their first song, a man rushed onto the stage. Armed with a gun, he fired multiple shots, hitting Dimebag Darrell. The 38-year-old guitarist, the heart and soul of the band, was killed instantly. The gunman also took the lives of 3 others, including Jeff "Mayhem" Thompson, the head of security who tried to stop the attacker. The music world was shaken to its core. Fans, friends, and fellow musicians were left in disbelief. How could such a bright light be extinguished so suddenly, so senselessly? Dimebag Darrell's death was a devastating loss, but his legacy lives on. His influence on heavy metal is undeniable. Guitarists around the world continue to study his techniques, inspired by his fearless creativity. From his iconic solos to his powerful riffs, Daryl's music remains timeless. Beyond his talent, Daryl is remembered for his kindness and generosity. He was the kind of person who made everyone feel welcome, whether they were a lifelong friend or a fan he'd just met. His laugh, his smile, and his passion for life left a mark on everyone who knew him. Johnny Guitar Watson. Johnny Watson was so skilled at playing his instrument, and in so many different ways, that his nickname was literally Guitar. After testing out the blues scene as a teenage piano player in Houston, he switched to guitar in the 1950s and started grinding out influential electric blues classics. Watson reinvented himself in the 1970s as one of the best and earliest purveyors of the music genre known as funk. Also a 70s style icon, with his wide-brimmed hats, flashy jewelry, and giant sunglasses, Watson brought funk to the masses with groovy, soulful, guitar-powered tunes like Superman Lover, A Real Mother for Ya, Lover Jones, and Ain't That a Bee. Always an innovator, Watson's 1980 single, Telephone Bill, is among the first-ever rap songs. Watson, who'd slowed down his career pace since the early 80s, toured in 1996, and on May 17 of that year, played a gig in Yokohama, Japan. Shortly after taking the stage and delivering some stage chatter in Japanese, which he claimed to speak in Ain't That a Bee, Watson collapsed and died from what was later determined to be a heart attack. He was 61. David Olney. David Olney was one of folk music's best singer-songwriters, and although he was arguably more successful as a songwriter, there's no doubt that the genre wouldn't be the same without his work, which included songs like Women, Crossed the River, Deeper Well, Big Cadillac, and Queen Anne's Lace. His skills were widely lauded, and when he passed away in 2020 in front of the audience at the 30A Songwriters Festival, it was a shocking yet strangely peaceful end to a decades-long career. Olney was in the middle of performing with Amy Rigby, who wrote about what had happened in the hours and moments leading up to his death. She said they had been laughing and joking, commenting on the wintertime Florida rain, and then, they got to the third song of the set. He stopped, apologized, and shut his eyes, she wrote in a Facebook post. I just want the picture to be as graceful and dignified as it was, because it at first looked like he was just taking a moment. Once those in attendance realized what had happened, they summoned paramedics and attempted to revive him, to no avail. The 71-year-old Olney, who had previously had heart surgery, was dead of a heart attack. His last words were, "I'm sorry." Mark Sandman. Morphine was one of the most unique alternative rock bands of the 90s, which is to say their music was challenging and unsettling. That's due in large part to singer and bass player Mark Sandman, who pioneered a slow, droning playing style, which added a spooky and unnerving element to Morphine's tunes. Also spooky and unnerving was the deadly heart attack he suffered while on stage. Morphine was performing in the Giardini del Principe festival outside Rome in 1999, when the 46-year-old and otherwise healthy Sandman suddenly stopped playing and fell to the ground. A few minutes later, while in an ambulance en route to a hospital, he was pronounced dead. Thousands of spectators and fans were left stunned, as was his band, with their manager summing up the mood by saying, via the Los Angeles Times, "We're devastated. We don't even know what to say. We're all in shock." Country Dick Montana. While they recorded a slew of well-received albums on major labels, the Beat Farmers were regarded as one of the best bar bands in the world, performing at whatever intimate venue would take them. They were honky-tonk anarchists, and a definitive band of the 1980s cowpunk scene, combining countrified roots rock with a punk attitude. Country Dick Montana, who usually sat behind the drum kit, formed the band in 1983 after playing with some other bands and running a San Diego record store. Cowboy Dick was an imposing presence in a cowboy hat and a duster, and he'd usually take the mic for at least one song per show, often a quirky novelty song about the delights of drinking. On November 8, 1995, Montana and the Beat Farmers played in front of a packed house at the Longhorn Saloon in Whistler, British Columbia. At the end of the song, "The Girl I Almost Married," Montana collapsed onto the drums. The other band members moved into the next song but stopped when they noticed Montana was silent. Road manager Tom Ames ran onto the stage and helped Montana to the ground. By the time paramedics arrived a few minutes later, 40-year-old Country Dick was dead from what was later ruled to be an acute aneurysm. Mike Scaccia. Mike Scaccia and his guitar stood at the forefront of two innovative subgenres of hard rock that exploded in the 1980s, thrash metal and industrial metal. As far as the former goes, he founded the band Rigor Mortis in 1983, and for the latter, he joined Ministry in 1989, invited by band leader Al Jourgensen after the band moved from synthpop to a hard-charging, guitar-heavy electronic-influenced style. As Ministry's main guitarist, he appeared on the band's best-selling album, Psalm 69, The Way to Succeed and The Way to Suck Eggs, and its two best-known songs, Jesus Built My Hot Rod, and NWO. Scaccia never forgot Rigor Mortis, however, and on December 22, 2012, he played at the Rail Club in Fort Worth, Texas, as part of a 50th birthday party for the band's singer, Bruce Corbett. While Scaccia was performing, he suddenly collapsed. He was rushed to a hospital, where he was pronounced dead. According to a medical examiner's report, the 47-year-old guitarist died of a sudden heart attack triggered by heart disease. Mark Sandman. Morphine was one of the most unique alternative rock bands of the 90s, which is to say their music was challenging and unsettling. That's due in large part to singer and bass player Mark Sandman, who pioneered a slow, droning playing style, which added a spooky and unnerving element to Morphine's tunes. Also spooky and unnerving was the deadly heart attack he suffered while on stage. Morphine was performing in the Giardini del Principe festival outside Rome in 1999, when the 46-year-old and otherwise healthy Sandman suddenly stopped playing and fell to the ground. A few minutes later, while in an ambulance en route to a hospital, he was pronounced dead. Thousands of spectators and fans were left stunned, as was his band, with their manager summing up the mood by saying, via the Los Angeles Times, "We're devastated. We don't even know what to say. We're all in shock." Pedro Henrique. The initial news reports about the death of Brazilian gospel singer Pedro Henrique were understandably vague. No one, after all, expected the 30-year-old singer to die in mid-performance. Early reports suggested that he reported feeling sick before taking the stage in the 2023 concert event, and his death came after he suffered an episode on stage and collapsed. The tragic death took place not only in front of audiences attending the event, but those watching via a live stream. It was later confirmed that he had suffered a heart attack, and in a bizarre footnote, his death helped add fuel to the COVID conspiracy theories about dangerous vaccines, in spite of the fact that his vaccination status wasn't even confirmed at the time of his death. Henrique was survived by his wife and daughter, and a statement released by his record label read, in part, via CNN Brazil, "There is no pastor or Christian in Brazil who says anything other than this: Pedro is simple, he is a believer. What a smile. How nice. What voice. The kind of people that are great to have around."